So let's go into the sleepers. Let's go into the guys that maybe aren't on that list. The Will McDonald's out of Iowa State.
He's my number 6.
I mean?
Yep.
I was about to say, like, so go from there. Will McDonald, I know our boy Foobs, he's been talking about who's the guy from Army, Andre Carter.
Andre Carter. He does not make my top 10.
And see, that's what I want to know. I want to know who's where, because I've heard a lot of hype and stuff about him. But let's be honest, this isn't the Army that's on your
This ain't the Army I lost 2 heartbreakers to.
Right. This ain't that team, you know. So who is it on this list? Will McDonald Jr. to start, but who is it that's coming up that we might not know about?
Yeah, so McDonald's my 6th, BJ Ojulari's my 7th. For every reason you said, I love what he brings to the table. Keon White for me is my number 8 from Georgia Tech. He's had a great pre-draft process here, was very good at the Senior Bowl, had a good combine, all that. He's making himself quite a bit of money this year. Isaiah Foskey for me from Notre Dame. He's one of these guys where if we were talking falls the most from like their like from mock draft 1.0 to where they're at, he's probably falling the most. He's everyone else is doing so good. He's just kind of staying the same, so he falls all the way to 9 for me. He's out of the top 5 all the way to 9. And for me, another guy that's fallen quite a bit, Kansas State's Felix Anudike Uzoma. We're getting to the point where there's like this crop of 6 to 10. Actually, I'll say 7 to 10. I think 4, 5, 6 is kind of my tier 2. 7 to probably 11, 12, 13. You're still getting a guy that's going to be a very good rotational guy. He's probably just not out there the majority of the plays.
Yeah. I got to be with you on 6 and 7. I think we're straight on that. I mean, if we're talking true sleeper, I do want to talk about Drew Sanders out of Arkansas. At one point, he was leading the country in sacks. Like he was balling out. He didn't look great for when he was over at Alabama, but since he transferred, I mean, he really stepped up and has been playing pretty well. I mean, I think we're all in agreement on Carter. I mean, I don't know. Like I just respect his ability and respect what everybody's been saying, but I didn't see it from the beginning. We had an Andre Carter at Washington that I thought was overhyped when he was with us, and that kind of maybe that was the correlation I made with the two of them. But he's just done. He's a great athlete and everything like that. But
it's the athleticism and it's the massive frame, the ridiculously long arms. It's all the stuff you can't teach that has everyone excited. He just doesn't have a lot of the stuff you can teach.
Yeah. And
the fact that we're sitting with a guy that's coming to the NFL draft that doesn't have a lot of the technique means he's a day 3 prospect. Yeah. He could become one of the better edge rushers from this class, but he's a day 3 guy. He's a 4th to 7th round guy.
Oh yeah. Uriel said, I saw a mock where Jalen's going to the Eagles. No, I do not accept that. I hope doesn't happen to him and Jordan Davis. Yeah, that'd be terrible.
See, what I hope doesn't happen is that we pass on him at 6 and Chicago takes him at 9.
Ooh,
I don't want him in division either. So I would almost take him at 6 and take the chance so he doesn't end up in Chicago at 9.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I agree with this. I mean, if you've seen Anthony Orgy, he balled this year. Like he really had a number of big games that made you kind of like, Orgy? Yeah. Who is this guy? You know what I mean? And obviously, because of the last name, you're just like, did they say what I think they said? Orgy. Yeah. Somebody have an orgy? But the guy can play. I mean, impact player, man. So, well, I mean, what are your thoughts on Orgy? Because I liked watching him play. I want to see if it's going to translate, but I do believe he'll be a steal.
I'm right there with you. I think there's so much to work with there at the NFL level. We got to see what actually translates, and that's the same thing with all these guys. But he's a guy that at some point here somebody will pick him up, and a lot of people will be like, "Who is that?" But the people that know who he is will be like, let's freaking go. Like,
Yep.
Somebody's going to get a baller with this guy. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Going deeper down the list, obviously, son of the great Brian Cox, his son is finally coming out in the draft. I'm Brenton Cox Jr. We've kind of seen him. He's technically sound. He's consistent tackler. I mean, he was sometimes a lone bright spot on a struggling team. We've seen what Florida did this year. I mean, if he had a couple more years, maybe he could do something. I'm wondering where he goes. I know he'll drop. Another guy, Avon Pace Jr., transferred over to Cincinnati after being, I think, like the American Conference Player of the year before, or from somewhere else. I believe maybe Ohio or something. I don't know where he came from. I got to look that up. But he's another one. Let's go deep down into that. I mean, Brenton Cox, Thomas Incoom, even your guy, Mike Morris, I think that is. Like, who's the gem? Who's the one that we're looking down there to find?
I mean, selfishly, I would say Mike Morris, but I think realistically, like a Nick Herbig, a Zach Harrison from Ohio State, the fact that he'll go day 3 is ridiculous. He's much better than that. There's guys, Byron Young from Alabama, Colby Wooden from Auburn could be another guy. There's a lot of really good edge rushers in this draft class. It's a lot like we were saying for the interior offensive lineman. You're going to get guys on day 3 that are not only making your 53-man roster, but are competing for playing time right off the bat. They're very solid guys. Like, if we're looking at guys, if we're trying to get guys that are going to be like 7th round, like kind of Mr. Irrelevant guys, another one for me is Nick Hampton from Appalachian State.
Ooh,
I like a lot of what he brings to the table.
Yeah, talk about, because I've heard his name come up from time to time, but obviously we've seen when they I've seen them up close and personal. But what are your thoughts? Like Nick Hampton,
he's a bit smaller for an edge guy. He's 6'2", but he's got the longer arms. He's 34, 35-inch arms. So he's a lot of what I was saying with Tyree Wilson, Nolan Smith, those guys. I love him in the run game. The ability to hold the offensive lineman out strong enough to kind of lock them out and kind of be looking for the running back, shed the block, and go. He's not as great as a pass rusher, but I think this is a guy that if you'd have to put a bit of weight on him, but he could play that 3-tech as an undersized guy. He's strong enough to do it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, look, I mean, and there, like you said, this is a very deep edge rusher, very deep position in the draft. So you're going to get some guys like Alex alluded to earlier that are maybe not as high on the projected list, but that's more because the top tier guys, we know how far they are. They and there's a gap, but still you got guys that are able to contribute to teams, and that's what is needed definitely this year.